Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and welcome back to the TvZ ProCast edition, where I am going to be casting game number 2 between roxkisSlivko, who is spawning as our blue Zerg player in the bottom right-hand corner of Ohana Means Family, and his opponent is going to be LGIMMvp as our red Terran player on the top left side. And you know what? I would open up talking about MVP, but oh my goodness, Slivko giving us a dominant win in game number 1. At no point in time was he ever really getting, forced on the back foot. He was never really in too much trouble, had a great build. Opened up with a fairly quick 3 bases, went ahead, got a crap load of queens out onto the map, and was able to defend some early Marauder Hellion Marine aggression with queens and roaches, and from there on, just kind of kept going. Did lose a 4th base in the middle of the map on Antigua Shipyard to a siege up on the high ground. He lost that middle position, but was able to come back, reestablish that, and once he got his Broodlords onto the field, he was rolling. And I am very excited to see how he continues to play here, as that was a very, very, very solid game out of Slivko, and quite exciting all around. MVP, on the other hand, he actually didn't play all that bad of a game himself. It's just Slivko just kind of played better, I suppose. I'm going to be honest, I was not a huge fan of MVP's build in the last game. It was a lot of Marauder Marine tank with some Viking support up in the air. Didn't quite have the upgrades he necessarily needed, and didn't really have the numbers I guess he needed. He kept trying to engage with a bunch of small forces. Really what MVP was doing was kind of an older style of TvZ, in which you do, a drop here, a drop there, and push with a smaller army up in the middle. And it worked great back in the day. That's actually one thing MVP was extremely good at, and that's, I think, really what he got well known for, was his ability to multitask all of those different pieces. But as Zerg players got better and better against defending against it, MVP just kind of got worse and worse technically, just didn't quite have the results that he used to. And he just kind of tried to play that style in the previous game, and it didn't pay off. I mean, he did manage to take out the 4th base once again of Slivko, but he was not really able to do any really damaging blows. Slivko was just able to hold the drops off with some Banelings, with a couple of Zerglings as well, maybe a Queen to snipe the medevac down. And Slivko just, once again, he took out a little bit here, a little bit there, and suddenly the army in the middle of the map was weaker, was able to regain the map control, and just kind of win the game from there. So I'd like to see something a little bit different out of MVP, as that older style of drop play does not work quite as well. A style of drop play that does work a little bit better. You kind of have 2 options. You can do a big drop, like maybe like 3 medevacs into one area and 1 medevac in another. And that'll force the Zerg player to split his army perfectly, because if he doesn't quite send enough for the big army, he dies. If he sends, not quite enough to deal with the smaller army, then he'll lose a base there or something. So I might like to see a little bit of that style of drop out of MVP, rather than 1 medevac here, 1 medevac there. Maybe 2 here if he's feeling adventurous, but then not another one somewhere else. So MVP just kind of needs to settle back and really just play a different style than what he did last game. I'm going to be kind of blunt here. And I was talking in the last game, I would love to see a little bit of mech play out of MVP, but I don't know if we are going to be seeing that here. We'll just have to see as this game does advance. Ohana, a great map. I've always been a big fan of it. There is no awkward Millard base. That's not right. There's no awkward middle base that can be kind of difficult to control. If you own, you can own your side of the map without being partially in your opponent's territory. On Antigua Shipyard, if you own the middle of the map, you kind of control how the game is dictated. You can control which expansions are taken and whatnot. But on Ohana, it's a little bit more difficult to say that. You can take this and you can't see any of the bases. You can see a couple of the main attack routes, but you can also always run the long way around the sides and completely avoid the watchtowers. Hellion's going to be coming in to the 3rd base once again. And with this queen here, I'm probably not going to be able to do too much. Might be able to get a couple of drones, but now with that spine crawler up, that is going to be taken care of just fine. In fact, I don't even think Slivko lost a drone there. No, very good control by Slivko. MVP is opening up a little bit differently, and I like this option by him. He's doing this slightly newer style of Hellion Banshee. This is great to go ahead and buy yourself a little bit of time. Hellions are now into natural expansion, doing quite a bit of damage. And the drones now in hold position so they don't all line up nicely. But MVP just finding all the right angles and now going to be able to do a little bit of damage, taking out 11 Harvesters early on in the game. We do have Banshees on the way now with Cloak as well. Evolution Chambers are on the field, so Spore Crawlers will be able to come up. And, okay, he is getting Spore Crawlers. I don't know if that has been scouted or not. Let's see here. Slivko's camp. As far as I know, he has not scouted that quite yet. Needs to get these rocks down between these bases so that he can get the crate spreading and be able to defend. However, not even working on those right now. Just 4 damage done to those rocks, which could make this Banshee harassment very, very potent. There is no Spore Crawler down at this third base either. This third base could actually... Oh, there it is. Still, this third base, if you got the Banshee kind of in the back here, this third base could just kind of die. So it's going to be interesting to see how exactly MVP does decide to handle those Banshees. And once again, Slivko really needs to take down these rocks as fast as he possibly can, because if those don't go down soon, he's going to find himself in a world of hurt with a third Banshee coming onto the field. This is something I know Danon actually recently did a daily on. What it does, it buys you time to go ahead and go up later on in the game. The double army coming on the way to get double upgrades. It looks like we are going to be seeing mech play out of MVP in this game. If there's one thing we know, mech play is that one strong push later on in the game, and you need to buy as much time as you possibly can to get there. But MVP, you know, he might just win this game pretty much right here. It might, you know, Slivko might hold on till later on in the game, but MVP is just doing so much damage, killing so many units off. That one Banshee is now out of cloaking energy, though. These Banshees doing so much damage. 30 workers killed at the 10-minute point. 50 to 47 Harvesters. There's a lot of lava not being used on either A, extra drones, or B, fighting units to help defend against an attack like this or do a counterattack. Hellions are now into the main base. Might be able to get even more drones here. There are 6 Hellions there. Zerglings are kind of coming up here to try to help take this out, but just not that many Zerglings to help defend against this. And now Hellions going to town on these drones. Not even going to bother trying to take out that queen. They're not going to be able to kill him fast enough. Looks like the Banshees did go down. Each of these queens does have at least a kill on it. Hellion is doing so much damage, and that is the stalling time that he really needed to get. MVP going to continue on now with his upgrades. 1-1 for vehicles coming on the way. This is a very, very great build order. Players, take note of MVP style here. That was a barracks, a factory with a reactor, and a starport with a tech lab. So opened up with a 1-1-1, super standard. Now you can see, ooh, I hear Viking somewhere. Oh, Viking just taking out an Overlord. Then that allows you to go ahead, take a third base. It allows you to get that economy that you need for all of those mech. You need gas, gas, gas for that style of play, and that is what MVP is going to be able to do. The only difficult thing about Ohana, for a Terran player especially, is taking a fourth base. You're either going to have to expand down here, which is very easy for the Zerg to just kind of come up or do a run by with Zerglings, or expand over here, which I think is a little bit more advisable. That would be expanding slightly away from his opponent. And if not a little bit further away, it is a little bit more difficult, I think, for the Zerg to be able to attack that. If the Terran player just took the Watchtower here, he would be able to hold that just fine. Zerg players don't have quite as hard of a time on this map, I feel, with that creep spread. It can reinforce their armies fairly quickly. Infestation Pit now coming onto the field for those infestors with the fungal growth, going to help deal with the Banshees, no doubt, being able to spot the cloaked with that fungal growth. Viking is kind of on the field. I always love, I don't know why more Terran players don't do this actually. Just get one Viking out, get maybe 2 Vikings out, and patrol the map with them. You will get Overlord kills for free. That is a guarantee I will make you now as a caster. You will get free Overlord kills if you do that. More Hellions coming in to the third base once again, going to try to roast up these drones. And while these drones are in a great positioning to be killed, there are roaches and a queen here to help defend against that. So that's going to get mopped up fairly quickly. Baneling Nest is on the field. Scan goes down and reveals a decent portion of the tech. Does not manage to show the Infestation Pit, however, which actually I guess has already been scouted. by those Hellions. So MVP knows exactly what Slivko is doing, and I love the style that MVP has going on here against what Slivko is doing. And in fact, there really is no superb answer, I will say, to a mech. I mean, it's not like, you know, Zergs have no answer to mech, but there's no really one build order that you can say, if the Terran goes mech, the Zerg player will do X to counter it. A lot of the time, you will see a lot of infestors down on the map, throw fungal growths down on the Hellions, and later on in the game, maybe a couple of neuroparasites on the Thors or on the tanks. Banelings and Zerglings are a decent help as well. Maybe a few roaches mixed in. Broodlords are never a bad option as well. But I mean, I just named off, you know, 3/4 of the Zerg units right there, and that's hard to get all of that going at the same time. 4th base for Slivko, I was forced to cancel by a couple of Banshees, and Slivko trying to do a counterattack and take out the 4th of MVP with a few roaches, but the Thors and Hellions and tanks all in a great positioning there, and actually a 5th base, a planetary fortress, being established as well. MVP just kind of decided, you know what, I want to take all the bases, and is going to go ahead and do that. The only problem is MVP now has to decide which base he's going to defend. This army, very, very slow for MVP. Those siege tanks have to be rooted to the ground. The Thors, a very slow movement speed. The only mobile thing are Hellions. But if Slivko decides to do a roach attack, those Hellions are going to be pretty much worthless in any sort of engagement. Rocks are going down. That's just going to allow the Zerg player to reinforce that base maybe a little bit better in the future. Now positioning his units a little bit more aggressively to defend the base against any sort of Banshee play. Hellions do have blue flame now, which means that they are just going to destroy any Zergling army. And Slivko might be in a little bit of trouble here, as MVP has decided to just go ahead and move out right here, just as about the time that he is maxing, just as 2-2 is finishing up shortly as well. Slivko going to be in a great deal of pain very, very shortly. Only 1-0 on his own units. I don't know if he's going to have an answer to this massive push here. He has 50 supply down. He has an upgrade disadvantage. He has a base disadvantage. Going to be going ahead and pushing up into this northeastern expansion with a hell of a lot of infested Terrans. But the master pair on that planetary fortress going to keep it alive for a very long time. In fact, that will pretty much just not fall. That has 3 armor on it. I think he might have actually gotten that building armor upgrade. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that in a couple of seconds. And the push from MVP into the 3rd base. And I mean, Slivko just got decimated that game. I wish I could say a little bit more suave-like. But, I mean, look at this army. There are 4 Thors, 3 siege tanks, and a hell of a lot of blue flame Hellions. And the army for Slivko consists pretty much of 22 roaches to attack with, and that's just about it. Now, one last thing I want to look at before I go on to the next game. Oh, I can't see. I'm going to go ahead and go back to right before this game ended then. Oh, that didn't do it. Back a little more. I need a point in time when MVP is still in the game. There we go. And actually, no, did not get that armor. That structure armor upgrade. Just that you guys know, there is a structure armor upgrade at the engineering bay for just 150, and it actually is very nice in the late game. Just saying. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me here for game number 2 of this best of 5 series. What an amazing game MVP showed us there. I love that style of mech play that he showed us, and I hope he does it in the next game so I can maybe give a little bit more elegant of an analysis of that. Or you could always watch Day 9's TvZ Daily, which did explain it very well in depth, which actually I just finished watching that just before this game, so woohoo! I'm going to go on to game number 3. If you have not already, click that subscribe button if you liked what you heard here, and leave a comment below. Always appreciate it, and I will do my best to get back to you guys. Until game number 3, folks, this is Coffee Break, signing out!